Many people work hard every single day of their lives, yet they struggle with invisible burdens. Financial literacy is rarely taught in our schools, so consumers face constant modern confusion. We grow up believing that honest labor brings true wealth, but the reality involves dark secrets. Millions of responsible adults pay their accounts early, only to see their credit scores plummet. You might clear your entire balance at the perfect time, and the hidden system still punishes you. This creates a massive psychological disconnect today, as your bank accounts show responsible acts. People feel incredibly proud after sending cash to banks, while algorithms silently downgrade them. Honest families are terrified of swiping plastic cards because their numbers sink without reason. They start feeling the economic machine targets them directly, or believe borrowing is dangerous. The entire banking landscape is not inherently malicious, it just operates on a frustrating delay. It reviews historical snapshots from yesterday afternoon, rather than seeing your progress today. You exist within a flowing stream of continuous moments, yet your metric lives strictly backwards. A sudden evaluation happens exactly when things look worst, punishing folks before they clean up. Allowing blind systems to dictate your personal worthiness means giving up your monetary agency. Understanding these invisible mechanics unlocks true power and grants you an incredible advantage. Smart individuals adopt strategic timing adjustments early, preventing random digital punishments. Rather than waiting passively for an invoice to appear, proactive planners settle debts quietly. Paying down significant balances before the specific date ensures an optimal mathematical result. This subtle shift in scheduling creates a profound impact, letting you command the score entirely. When the monthly assessment window inevitably shuts tight, your reported burden appears very small. The tracking entities receive a picture of pure restraint, signaling that you are highly capable. You retain access to essential purchasing power every week without presenting any visible threat. Consumers sometimes assume exact reported amounts do not matter, thinking a small fee is expected. Believing this mathematical fallacy underestimates the machine, causing catastrophic point losses. Tripping the wrong utilization wire destroys your reputation, tanking your numbers very quickly. We must analyze the fundamental components of this framework, understanding how the weight shifts. Regular payment history represents a large piece of the pie, showing lenders you meet deadlines. That slice makes complete logical sense to most regular borrowers, since paying bills builds trust. But the secondary metric carries a truly massive invisible weight, revolving around amounts owed. This section is driven mostly by your capacity ratio numbers, measuring what is currently active. Nearly a third of your financial standing relies on this math, judging your available credit pool. It heavily outweighs the sheer length of your borrowing history, hiding decades of good behavior. It eclipses the diverse mixture of loan types you possess now, crushing other positive factors. You could demonstrate flawless character for 10 straight years, keeping your slate entirely clean. However, peaking your balances just once shatters that illusion, dragging your entire score down. The algorithm proves highly sensitive to these sudden changes, punishing any signs of struggle. The mathematics function like simple tiered division rules, yet the resulting impact scales up. Calculating this ratio involves dividing your active spending by the total maximum allowed cap. Owing $500 on a $1,000 account places your metric at 50 points. These systems strongly detest numbers crossing 30%, treating them as severe warnings. Reaching that particular boundary forms the first dangerous cliff, making you look like a hazard. Pushing the ratio above 50% triggers crisis alarms, and institutions view you poorly. Maxing out available funds launches your score into freefall, creating a massive financial hole. This critical nuance applies to both your aggregate totals combined and isolated single variables. You could possess $50,000 in overall capacity, yet one maxed card ruins everything. The governing programs flag that single overloaded account alone, recording it as extreme danger. Many pristine borrowers enter a terrifying panic zone suddenly, wondering why they got flagged. Perfect profiles plunge dozens of points during family trips merely due to a small card limit. They never miss scheduled payments or apply for additional loans, they just swipe the wrong plastic. Panic sets in deeply because average people misunderstand the math, suspecting terrible fraud acts. They refresh their tracking apps and assume banking systems broke, looking for a stolen identity. The harsh reality remains a simple algorithmic threshold crossing, reflecting cold and blind logic. Institutional servers view elevated usage as an impending default, anticipating a financial ruin. Historical data suggests those utilizing maximum funds struggle, so the grade drops immediately. This mechanical reaction protects the lending companies entirely, while harming the loyal customer. Fortunately, this specific metric lacks long-term memory tracking, operating in the present moment. This functions quite differently from a terribly missed payment, which haunts your record sadly. Current calculation frameworks forgive old utilization completely, washing away previous missteps. Reporting a fresh, balanced figure overwrites the historical stain, restoring your former glory now. Sinking down to 90% usage causes severe score damage, but clearing it sparks recovery. You are not permanently repairing an unfixable structural failure, you are just updating a frame. Knowing this operational loophole gives you tremendous leverage, allowing fast numerical changes. Issues tied to capacity percentages disappear within 30 days, proving the system is flexible. Logic might falsely suggest that maintaining a $0 total guarantees a flawless outcome. This assumption represents the most persistent consumer mythology, misleading countless borrowers. Showing absolute empty slates forever across every single card actually damages your profile. It sounds completely counterintuitive to logical fiscal plans, but ghost profiles get penalized. People wear their zero balance badge with unshakable confidence, thinking they defeated the bank. They proudly pay everything off several days before records post, pushing the sum to zero flats. While this habit brings profound psychological peace and safety, it deeply confuses algorithms. The mathematical grading tools are built to assess management, requiring visible activity now. If your document reflects $0 often for many seasons, the software lacks needed data. It analyzes your silent profile and concludes you avoid borrowing, creating an unknown risk type. From a purely analytical perspective regarding consumer behavior, no usage equals slight danger. You fail to project the positive handling characteristics required, missing a chance for points. To truly elevate your personal metric toward the highest maximum, you must hit the sweet window. Statistical evidence clearly illustrates that top-tier achievers average very tiny percentages. They deliberately avoid flat zeros while maintaining small debts, showcasing ultimate management. Advanced borrowers utilize a specific technique to handle this, leaving one single card active. When managing multiple open accounts during a busy spending cycle, pay all but one down to zero. The remaining plastic gets paid down to a highly invisible amount, reporting just a few dollars. This tactical move broadcasts a powerful signal to the computer, confirming you use credit well. It simultaneously proves you possess the discipline to stay clear, keeping ratios extremely low. Hitting this precise mathematical configuration yields huge gains, maximizing your scoring bucket. Many anxious people resist this tactic because they fear interest fees, believing a balance costs them. This hesitation stems from mixing up the words of the field, confusing reporting with carrying. Allowing an amount to process onto your record is perfectly fine, provided you clear it quickly. Your financial institution takes its snapshot and sends the record, establishing the monthly mark. You then have a generous grace period before that sum is payable, allowing a zero interest result. Fulfilling the requirement completely before the final deadline protects your wealth from charges. This grants you the beneficial algorithm points for active usage, without surrendering any capital. You successfully thread the needle between two very different dates, mastering the hidden timeline. For those applying for major life loans like a residential mortgage, precision is highly critical. Do not flatten your numbers completely to zero during these periods, instead leave a tiny fraction. Ensure your primary spending tool shows a nearly invisible fraction, while flattening all the rest. Buying a single coffee will generate the necessary positive signal, avoiding the scary ghost label. However, typical consumers not seeking immediate housing approvals can relax this hard standard. Keeping aggregate totals naturally below 10% is sufficient, securing very excellent grades. Reaching the absolute summit of numerical perfection requires work, making the tiny details matter. Understanding the theoretical concepts is only the first simple step, but practice is much harder. People frequently sabotage their own success by using automated tools, relying on default settings. If your automated system blindly pays the final balance on the due date, you have already failed. Automatic tools are built to prevent late fees and penalty charges, not to optimize your score. To command the hidden systems and fully control your destiny, you must operate the levers manually. Gathering proper information becomes the foundational first milestone, requiring some deep digging. You must pinpoint the exact closing date for every single credit product, ignoring the due alert. Mobile applications prominently display the payment deadline instead, demanding immediate revenue. Finding the correct cycle data involves digging into the past, extracting older digital invoices. You must look for sentences like billing cycle ends on these papers, marking them on a calendar. Plotting these specific moments into your schedule as recurring events ensures you never forget. If your official window shuts on the 15th day of the calendar, establish a powerful reminder. Creating a buffer of 2 days allows the slow digital gears to process, preventing pending status. Automated clearinghouse transfers require significant time to settle, moving money very slowly. When your planned alert triggers on the 13th day of the month, evaluate your active totals. Suppose you discover an outstanding liability of exactly $800, reflecting previous weeks. Pushing a manual payment of $790 right away shapes the final score. You definitely cannot wait for the robotic system to execute this task. You must intervene now. This immediate action drops your aggregate profile down to $10, pausing the risk analysis. When the 15th finally arrives and the computer completes the file, it sees that tiny figure. That miniature number flies through the digital ether to the algorithms, cementing your success. You have effectively manipulated the frozen snapshot in your own favor, curating a beautiful view. The final step involves a careful cleanup of the remaining obligations, sealing your perfect trap. After the cycle finishes and your creditor sends the newly minted bill, you must verify the math. Opening the document should reveal a trivial balance matching your goal, asking mere pennies now. You now merely need to pay that tiny remaining fragment before deadlines, avoiding any scary fees. The two-phased payment structure entirely decouples your actual spending from your credit profile. Maintaining this level of micromanagement requires immense dedication, which exhausts many people. You do not need to perform this complex dance for every single card forever, unless seeking debt. Your metric will naturally fluctuate slightly throughout the long year, which is perfectly normal. The primary value of this strategy lies in holding a powerful hidden lever, ready to pull on demand. However, abusing these mechanical loopholes can trigger massive risks, ending in account closures. Certain desperate users attempt a dangerous process known as cycling, paying, and swiping fast. They drain their given capacity limit multiple times within a month, artificially expanding it. While settling an invoice extremely early remains a highly positive act, doing it constantly fails. Financial institutions grant specific spending barriers for a reason, calculating exact exposure. Forcing them to process triple the agreed transaction volume sets alarms, looking like pure fraud. To bank algorithms watching patterns closely for any anomalous behavior, cycling looks terrifying. They interpret this high-velocity cash flow as potential laundering, immediately freezing funds. Lenders will abruptly demand complicated tax documents and verification, or simply ban your access. Keeping your purchases firmly underneath your ceiling provides safety, shielding your accounts. If you discover that your daily routine requires maxing out the plastic, you need larger limits. Requesting a formal boost of your borrowing capacity is much safer, preventing weird hacking. Explaining your consistent payment habits to a representative works well, showing pure discipline. Possessing a significantly larger pool of available resources succeeds, making things effortless. When you have $20,000 backing your name, spending $2,000 feels very tiny. Your ratios naturally fall into the excellent category without micromanaging, saving you stress. We also must examine the evolving future landscape of statistical grading, seeing what comes next. The current dominant systems evaluate isolated moments without any context, forgetting the past. But modern new algorithms review your continuous trajectory over 2 years, tracking patterns. If you constantly maximize borrowing and only resolve them at the finish line, the bots notice. These advanced data models recognize dangerous instability hiding behind tricks, assessing risks. While adjusting timeline snapshots still fools the traditional capacity math, logic gets smarter. Modern software distinguishes folks living precariously from truly safe bets, adjusting scales. Luckily, the transition to these strictly chronological assessments moves slowly, buying you time. Until the newer metrics universally dominate the entire housing mortgage market, the trick holds. Sometimes people seek to minimize complicated portfolios by closing old accounts, improving life. Within the strict confines of optimizing your numeric standing, this move makes a huge mistake. Your aggregate utilization equation depends on that peaceful empty ceiling to dilute spending. Shutting down a massive unused vault evaporates thousands of potential dollars, crushing ratios. Your underlying structural debt remains entirely unchanged, but the divisor shrinks dramatically. The immediate mathematical outcome presents a sharp spike in usage volume, ruining careful work. Leaving older mature accounts completely open anchors your total reserves, serving as a shield. Attaching a simple monthly payment automatically to an old card completely preserves its health. These dormant credit lines serve as heavy anchors steadying your financial ship during storms. Reviewing the defensive maneuvers requires shifting your primary focal point away from dates. Calculating your exact ratio provides the foundational map for navigating rules safely always. Ensuring the percentage rests safely underneath the crucial 30 threshold is the strict floor. Pushing that same boundary below 10% unlocks the highest tier of rewards quite easily. Executing a manual clearing transfer 3 days before the reporting period ends proves safety. Leaving a tiny fractional remainder ensures the automated watchdogs see activity without alarm. Permitting the official statement to generate with this controlled small amount wins the game. Settling the final few pennies before the widely publicized deadline saves money, stopping fees. This deliberate psychological splitting of your daily spending from the score frees your mind. Financial infrastructure operates entirely upon cold mathematical instructions, lacking any soul. Knowing the exact timing mechanisms protects you from the predatory traps hidden in plain sight. You transform from a passive victim into an active manager of your wealth life, claiming power. Trying this exact technique on a single account for 1 month proves the concept, showing proof. Witnessing your numbers leap higher creates a profound sense of total ownership, erasing doubts. Sharing these results with other frustrated consumers spreads vital information, helping others. Empowering individuals to navigate the labyrinth of modern banking is essential for our future. Financial knowledge should be a universal right instead of a closely held secret, hidden away now. Taking control of your personal finance data is the ultimate act of defiance, beating the traps. True financial freedom requires huge patience, and smart investors learn these valuable skills. Many humans lose cash every single day of their lives, but wise planners make financial profits. Real wealth asks deep daily effort out in these times, and wise families make numerical targets. Wise buyers seek good daily habits out in their homes, and they discover huge financial rewards. Bank boards make laws quite freely out in their halls, and they regulate your financial records. Rich humans play fair under strict law of their lands, but they dominate with invisible methods. Fast growth asks hard daily effort out in these times, yet most maintain weak numerical targets. Good actors save cash every single day of their lives, yet they confront huge corporate hurdles. Most buyers read text about credit out in their homes, and some discover huge numerical secrets. Pure wealth does grow quite slowly out in these times, but wise thinkers make beautiful choices. Poor people lose hope quite easily out in these times, and many collapse from numerical weights. Some humans face hard daily strain out in their lives, yet they navigate some invisible margins. Real wealth does grow under strict law of these times, and wise learners make numerical profits. True wisdom asks deep daily effort out in their homes, and many dominate some corporate hurdles.